Greetings to you. It is paradoxical, yet true, to say that the more we know, the more ignorant we become in the absolute sense. For it is only through enlightenment that we become conscious of our limitations. Precisely, one of the most gratifying results of the intellectual evolution is the continuous opening up of new and greater prospects. Welcome to part 8 of the RFEFP series. This is Nee B, and it's time, folks, to bring down the wall. Now, sometimes walls exist just to see who has the strength to knock them down, and our Earth is certainly one that is certainly watered, it is certainly circled, and the lands of our Earth, along with the level seas, are enclosed by a 150-foot shield of pure ice and snow rock. Very much the opposite of the fictional Newtonian Copernican theory spinning globe. Now, our ice wall is a natural formation, a thick mass of floating ice that is attached to land, formed from and fed by the tongues of glaciers, or glaciers, that extending outward from deep within the uncharted tundra into sheltered waters. Where there are no strong currents, the ice becomes partly grounded on the sea bottom and attaches itself to rocks and to islands. The wall is then pushed forward into the sea by glacial pressure until its forward growth is terminated. The entire coast of the ice wall is not basically one single complete wall. There are actually a series of 1,000-mile long walls that are divided by transatlantic mountain ranges up to 11,500 feet high. The weight of the ice walls are so enormous that they have literally pressed the land 2/3 of a mile into the earth. Under the massive forces of their own weight, the ice walls deform and drag themselves outward. Very large glaciers called ice streams flow through them continuously, transporting ice from deep inland and out to the sea. Now, ice shelves and snow rock mountains are found everywhere, folks, on our plain Earth. And this is the real geography of this world. Greenland, Canada, Argentina, the Russian Arctic, Norway, New Zealand, South Africa, and even in Australia. Most people do not seem to realise that even in Australia, you can easily explore the Aussie Alps, as they're known as, and go skiing. And also in South Africa, at the very edges of the places mentioned, they all have snowy, impenetrable ice mountains and ice shelves that stop any human being from crossing. They are all surrounded by ice and snow rock. And all of the areas mentioned of the azimuthal equidistant map all point to the ice wall that encircles us here on plain Earth. This is an absolute, folks. I encourage you to test this out for yourself. We really are fully enclosed in a wall of ice snow rock, and all of the AE countries that encircle us test to this circle geographically. Now, as once upon a time, the lands were all as one, all connected together, until a certain change needed to happen. So the ice wall was actually discovered by a fellow Englishman named Sir James Clark Ross a British naval officer and polar explorer. He was one of the first to venture to Antarctica in an attempt to try and determine the actual position of the South Magnetic Pole. He obviously failed at obtaining this, by the way, as we only have one magnetic pole, so to speak, only one apex source of sheer magnetism. It's why the North always remembers, hence all compasses point north, and will still point north in the southern hemicircle of the plane. Now, upon confronting the massive vertical front of ice, Sir James had famously remarked, "It was an obstruction of such character as to leave no doubt in my mind as to our future proceedings, for we might as well sail through the cliffs of Dover as to penetrate such a mass. It would be impossible to conceive a more solid-looking mass of ice. Not the smallest appearance of any rent or fissure could we discover throughout its whole extent, and the intensely bright sky beyond it, but too plainly indicated the great distance to which it reached southward." Now, Sir James Clark Ross and his expeditionary fleet sailed around the ice wall for a number of months in circumnavigation between pit stops at the Cape of Good Hope and his polar expeditions. He spent, let's say, the next several years of his life circumnavigating in a circle, mainly in the southern coast, and vainly in search of a South Sea passage to the other side of the ice wall, with no luck whatsoever. There is no way through. This is why we know that you can only circumnavigate in a circle from east to west, and never north to south, top to bottom of a spinning globe. You simply cannot do this. Now, beyond the 150-foot ice wall, 46 metres high in the southern part of the plain, the Capricorn Tropic beyond, only a select few have an idea of this wonderful experience. Certain Freemasonic people, like the once Admiral Byrd and his crews, during certain military operations called High Jump and Deep Freeze, before he was then mysteriously silenced forever. How far does the ice extend? What exists beyond it? Well, the late Admiral Byrd had crudely mentioned in his now famous or infamous black and white interview, the area the size of the USA has never been seen by another human being. It's beyond the so-called South Pole. I think he knew there really isn't one, as he actually refers to it as the pole beyond the South Pole, from Middle America. And this area of land he describes, folks, as being quite astonishing, that an area this big is still left unexplored, rich of coal and oil and even uranium. So for ourselves, we must try and avoid risking one's life trying to get close to it, because this is a very much guarded and militarized secret, folks, that is monitored 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Much stronger than the famous Area 51 and 52. You see what happens when you get too close to their IFD bases, the identified flying drones. Now, the wall is very real, folks. It encircles the plane of lands on Earth, keeps our waters of Earth enclosed, and the snow and hail are very real in the South Circle portion of the plain Earth. The howling winds and indescribable storms and hurricanes that prevail here, that in every single direction at the very edges, human ingress is barred by unsealed escapements of perpetual ice. extending literally farther than any eye or any telescope can penetrate, and thus becoming lost in the perpetual gloom and darkness of the totally unknown. Worlds Beyond the Poles by F. Armedio Gianni describes the physical land routes from Earth to every land area of the universe about us, which is all land, by the way. Such routes extend from beyond the North Pole and the so-called South Pole. The so-called ends of entire Earth as decreed by the Copernican theory, it will here be in this book adequately shown that there are no northern or southern limits to the Earth. It will thereby be shown where movement straight ahead from the pole points are all on the same level as the Earth. Now, walls protect and walls limit. It is in the nature of walls that they should fall, and we do have one that is encircling us right now, whether you want to believe this or not. Geographically, this is the truth, friends. So in a way, we should build bridges and not walls. Change, friends, is the end result of all true learning. So try to embrace this truth if you can, because it's the very reason why the wall is another real flat earth fact on the plane. It's here and it's all around you like your chi energy. You take care, and I will see you in part 9. Thanks for watching, and thank you to all subscribers. We are all brothers and sisters here, and we are all part of the same Earth family. So look after it, and you be safe on it. And I'll see you in part 9. Keep flat.